guys, so I'm going to show you 3 quick and easy knots that I use every time I go camping and that I've used throughout my life and my military career. And then I'm going to talk about a couple lashings that you can use to connect 2 different poles or 2 pieces of wood or whatever it may be. So this is the working end, and it's obviously the end that we're going to be working with and tying the knot on. And then this is usually called the running end, which is the rest of the rope. So working end, running end. Okay, the first knot I'm going to show you is called the bowling knot, or bowline, whatever. The purpose of this knot is you can tie a fixed loop on the end of the rope. So first you're going to want to have your working end and your running end. You're going to want to make a small loop like this with your working end over top of the running end. You're going to take the end of your working end, you're going to put it up behind through that loop, and then you're going to bring it underneath that running end and back through this loop. Once you have a hold of that, you want to hold on to this working end, pull that running end tight. This is the bowling. And there's your fixed loop. Okay, one more time. Working end, running end. Create that loop with the working end overlapping the running end. Working end going up through the loop, and then underneath that running end back through the loop. Like this next one is called the Clove Hitch. And there's 2 different ways that I like to tie this, and I'll show you both. But this is a good knot to use when you want to quickly secure the rope and to an anchor point. So the first thing you want to do is take your working end, put that around, just like this. So the running end is kind of resting on the working end. And then you want to make this X on your anchor point or whatever you're using to tie the knot onto. Okay, so you got this X right here. You're going to bring the working end around, and you want to bring it underneath that X. And you want to have that X when you finish. Loop it around. Just like this. Okay, and this is the beginning of the X. So you're bringing this around through the middle there, just like that. One thing I like to do with knots is kind of retrace it back, and that helps me learn how to tie the knot. Helps me see why and where that working end is going. So, the other way to tie the clove hitch is an easy way, but you can only do it if you have access to the top of your anchor point, or whatever you're tying the knot on. So you got your working end here, you hold it where you want to put the knot, you make one loop, like this. So I brought it this way towards me, and then the other side you want to bring the opposite. So you got two loops. This one's got the running end overlapping, and this one the working end is behind, right here. So you got two loops. Then you want to cross them over. Okay, so you have this one coming over the other one. You don't want to just put them like that, this one over this one, or it's not going to work the same. You want to overlap the loops this way. Place that over your device and tighten it up. And that's going to give you that X. But you can only do that if you have access to the top. Then you can just slide it over. If you don't have access to the top, you're going to have to tie it the first way I showed you. Okay, the next rope, or knot, the next knot I'm going to show you is called the square knot. And this one is probably the easiest to tie. And the only thing you got to remember when you're tying this knot is left over right, right over left. So whatever piece of rope you got in your left hand, you can go left over the right, loop it around, then right over left, and tighten it. As long as you do that every time, you'll get the square knot. This is a nice, easy knot. You can join two separate ropes together with this knot. But this one, I like to tie a safety. And a safety knot is just an overhand knot. And safety knots, I always like to tie as close to the main knot, which in this case is a square knot, as possible to keep it from slipping. So if I had the safety knot out here, it would slip and loosen. Another way you can get your knots even tighter, if you want them more permanent, and you're using something like 550 cord, 550 cord like this, which always has, it's paracord, and it's got the other strands of rope inside. You take out the guts of the 550 cord, you burn the ends of the rope, and then you can even get them wet, and then when you tie them, that'll be the tightest that you can get that rope. And it's almost impossible to untie it with your fingers. Okay, now I'm going to show you how to tie two separate pieces together. And this is called wrapping and frapping is what I'm going to show you. And you can use this to make bipod, frames, whatever you want to use it for, but it's to attach two separate pieces. So the first thing you want to do, make a clove hitch around one of them. This I'm just making a little safety so it doesn't slip. Okay, now that you got your anchor here, you bring both of them together. You're going to start doing wraps. And the important thing to remember to do when you're doing these wraps is make it as tight as possible. That's going to make it stronger. I like to have 5 wraps. So right now I have 1, 2, 3. I don't count this first one. Okay. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, once you have those 5 wraps, I'm gonna make sure you tighten it as tight as you can. Dress it up here. Now you're gonna start doing what's called fraps, which is going through the middle. And these are especially, you want to make these especially tight, because that's what's really going to pull the tension on those wraps. I'll secure that end with a square knot, or I mean a clove hitch. Okay. And so when you make your bipod like that, make a bipod here, it's really going to tighten on itself. So I'm pulling real hard on here. So that can be the start of an A-frame or a bipod or whatever. And this part I obviously would cut off. Alright guys, thanks for watching. Those are just some of the knots and lashings that I've used over the years to build frames and secure whatever gear and tarps and stuff like that. Hope that helps some of you guys out there. Thanks for watching.